Alright, so it's being reported that Dillian Whyte, well, this actually came out yesterday, but I'm only back today. It's being reported that Dillian Whyte has signed his end of the Anthony Joshua deal, so it looks essentially like this fight is next. Now, the date Eddie Hearn was talking about, and I would imagine it is still the case, would be August the 12th. Now, today, the time of filming, it's the 4th of July. So, it's not ideal. They want to be getting the announcement, but basically you'd want to get it announced this week. Wouldn't shock me if it's announced the next day or so, but you want to get the fight announced this week because you want to have as much time as you can to promote the fight. And this fight, it's out of all the fights that was being talked about for Joshua, obviously because there was a lot of issues with the contract and stuff like that. Dillian Whyte didn't want the rematch, then it was something else. We got here in the end, right? Well, it's not been officially announced, but for all intents and purposes, it's announced. So, in terms of this compared to the other fights, this is the one I feel that they are going to have the easiest job marketing. Kabayel was a name that was being talked about, and for a variety of reasons, I didn't think that fight was a good idea. For a variety of reasons, not just in terms of promoting the fight, but in terms of how it would be on the night, in terms of I knew that fight would be fairly, well, if it happened, I would be putting money that it would be a fairly dull, very not fun fight. And I don't think it would have done Joshua any good. I don't think it would have done his reputation any good. I think it would have just been a bit of a nightmare, truth be told. Not that he'd lose it, but just he'd get the win, but in every other aspect it would be a nightmare. The fans wouldn't be happy. I don't think it would do good numbers, a lot of things. Whereas this one, it's not, it'll do okay. I remember Frank Smith a couple of weeks ago saying that he reckons this could do, was it over 700,000 buys? Because it's more than likely going to be on pay-per-view. In fact, I think it's a guarantee it will be. But I wouldn't put money on that. It'll probably do okay. At the end of the day, Joshua and Whyte are not the draws they were a couple of years ago, but Joshua certainly still has more drawing power than Dillian Whyte does. I mean, Dillian Whyte, didn't he do the OVO Arena last November against Jermaine Franklin? And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it like 7,000? And the OVO was 12, 13,000 capacity. So it's a big drop from the days where he was doing Sky Box Office pay-per-views, in the O2 and places like that. It's a big drop-off. So Dillian Whyte's stock has taken a hit, but Joshua's, it has taken a hit, but not so much that I will be worried, put it like that, about this fight flopping. I don't think it will. I think the fact that there's a bit of needle there, I think the fact that Dillian Whyte, he's going to try and get under Joshua's skin. They'll probably do the gloves are off or whatever the zone call it. So I think that they'd be okay with this one in terms of certainly at least breaking even. In terms of how this fight is for Joshua's rehabilitation, I think it's a good fight for him. I've said this from the start. I think that realistically, it probably would have been good to maybe do this fight first back in April as opposed to now, but they're getting it done nonetheless. I just think that Dillian Whyte, at the end of the day, Joshua's already beaten Dillian Whyte, so he'll go into this fight knowing, okay, I have beaten this guy. It's not like I'm going into a fight with someone who's already beaten me, like a Ruiz or like an Usyk, especially with Usyk, where this guy has beaten me. He can outbox me. He stunned me a few times. How do I beat him? What do I do? And you're kind of overthinking things. With Joshua, it's a case of, I'm going back in with this guy, but apart from the second round, I really didn't do much wrong first time around. Obviously, it's many, many years removed from then. Things have changed in both their careers. But he's not going to be going into this fight thinking, oh, I remember when he did this, I remember when he did that. He'll obviously want to be cognizant and wary of the left hook, but he should be okay. And I think for Joshua, this is the perfect fight to kind of maybe get that killer instinct back. I mean, it's not going to come back overnight, but just to have a big knockout or a stoppage on a big stage, and a good one at that would do Joshua the world of good. And I think he'll get it against Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte's chin, when both guys were on the come up and, both guys were undefeated, when they fought, Dillian Whyte, the punches he took against Joshua before finally going down, and you got to bear in mind, right, he took a lot of shots in that first fight. He was not in the best of shape. He was training at the time with Jonathan Banks. He was actually following Klitschko around the world. And that was during the time when Klitschko was getting ready to fight Tyson Fury. Actually, it was a few weeks after. I think they fought at the end of November. This was around about December 12th, 2015. But Dillian Whyte wasn't getting preferential treatment, obviously. He had an injured shoulder, I believe, going into the fight, so he was compromised in that sense, and he wasn't in particularly good shape. So, for a variety of reasons, he was still able to take a lot of good shots. Eventually, he succumbed to the shots and fatigue as well, and he went down. If you had said to me, after seeing the punches he took in that fight, that Dillian Whyte, pretty much, I want to say from the Joseph Parker fight, it was Joseph Parker fight on, he'd be getting rocked in pretty much every fight, I would have said, what? Really? Well, that's basically what's been happening. You know, rocked, dropped, stopped in two of those fights. So, Dillian Whyte's chin, I think now has maybe gone past what people are saying Joshua's chin is. Does Joshua have an iron chin? No. But it's definitely not particularly good, Joshua's chin, but Dillian Whyte's at this stage, I think, is even worse. You know, he just seems to be getting rocked every single fight now, and I think that he's open to the uppercut. Joshua has a tremendous uppercut, which we know, and I think he's going to know that. He's going to know, I stopped this guy with an uppercut, and, you know, in all of his knockout losses, well, he's been stopped with uppercuts. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look to land this uppercut, I need to be careful of the left hook, and I'll look devastating doing it. And I think that's what Joshua's going to do. I think that he's now going to be a lot more comfy with Derek James. You know, he's had that extra bit of time with him now because, you know, before him announcing, apologies, I think I'm coming down with something, but before him announcing that he'd be going with Derek James, he was saying that he might go from trainer to trainer. Well, he hasn't done that. He's stuck with Derek James, which is good. And I think that now, being in camp with him more regularly, and the fact that he's gone through a couple of camps, it'll be his second camp now with him, we'll probably see a more relaxed and more comfy Joshua. I don't expect him to be Mr. Confident in there, but I expect him to be a lot more in the game that he was against Jermaine Franklin, for want of a better word. So I think him against Dillian Whyte, perfect fight for Joshua. Is there a chance of an upset? I mean, it's heavyweight boxing. You know, you have more chance of an upset in heavyweight boxing than you do in any of the other divisions because the guys are normally not as talented as the welterweight guys. It doesn't matter if you're not a big puncher. If you are 250 pounds, 6'5", and you load up and hit someone with your best shot, you're gonna hurt them. It's as simple as that. If you're not a big puncher at welterweight, chances are there's not much you can do in terms of hurting the opponent. There's obviously a lot you can do with your skills if you have good skills, but chances are as well that the opponent you're fighting, if he's world level, is going to have very, very good defense, so it's harder to catch them, whereas heavyweight, it's a little bit easy. Well, it's a bit easier. So upsets can happen. Would I rule out an upset? I mean, Dillian Whyte certainly has power in the left hook. He's hit Joshua with the left hook before, and I think that a Dillian Whyte from today, if he got Joshua in that same position that he got him in their first fight, I think he would be a lot smarter with how he attacked. He really, when he hurt Joshua in that fight in the second round, he started swinging a lot. He got a bit overexcited, and I think he ended up probably hurting himself a little bit as well because the way he was throwing the shots, how wide he was throwing them, they were really kind of swooping. And if he already had an injured shoulder, it's going to exasperate the injury, I think. So I think today he'd be a lot more grounded. So it'd be interesting. But for me, there's only one real winner in this fight. It's probably going to be Anthony Joshua. It's a good rehabilitation fight. Obviously, the Wilder fight likely is going to happen in December. We'll see what happens at Wilder, if he has an opponent lined up or not. But it looks like we're getting Joshua versus Dillian Whyte next. Dillian Whyte 2, the rematch, repeat or revenge. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Repeat or revenge? What are your thoughts on this? Let me know your thoughts back home. And yeah, we are going to be chucking the videos out as we always do. I'll leave you with that, little lads and lassies. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button on the way out. Peace.